I will get it.
It's showtime.
We're going to go ahead and get started. Unfortunately, the mayor could not be here tonight, so I'm not near as attractive or as graceful. And I'm sure I won't handle this as well as she does, but we wish her a speedy recovery. I see that Josh T.G. is here from First United Methodist Church of Conway and is going to lead our invocation and pledge.
Together, let us pray. O Eternal One, we thank you for this day and for all who are gathered here and for the city of Conway. We pray, O God, for all who give their effort to make this a place of neighborly love and a vibrant community. We thank you, O God, for the call that is given to each of us as we work for the good of all and bear the fruits of our labors. Especially this day, do we pray for our city council members and elected officials, those who bear the weight of civic responsibility. Grant to us your holy wisdom, O God, that we may discern right from wrong. Teach us when it is time to speak and when it is time to listen. Guide us in the creative and life-giving spirit as we work together for progress and for abundant life. Let us champion our successes when we are right. Let us with humility engage our failings and work to amend them and to make things right. Let us gather the strength to improve on our shortcomings. Accompany us always in our collective endeavors, that together we may journey forward in cooperative effort, acknowledging that there is still work to be done. Remind us, O God, that we all belong to you and we belong to each other. We do not live for ourselves alone, but for the good of those who are around us, and as time carries on, those who will come after us. Let us speak and take action for the well-being of all. And may justice, truth, and peace be the describing words of our actions. As we have been granted mercy, let us be merciful. Give us the ability to be understanding of those who are different from us, that we may be able to gain insight into the viewpoints and the struggles of others. Faithfully be our guide, we pray, our hope, our foundation, and our future. We lift all these petitions and all that remain in our minds and weigh on our hearts to you, O Holy Lord. In unity with the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ, live and reign in eternal unity. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, have we met the notice requirements as required by law? Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. What's the will of the council? Mr. Goldfinch.
Your Honor, I would like to move that we approve the agenda. I would ask that we remove executive session and postpone that until we can all get together, the seven of us, to discuss the item.
Thank you, Mr. Goldfinch. Mr. White.
Second this motion.
Having a first by Mr. Goldfinch and a second by Mr. White, any discussion prior to calling a vote? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, on to item 4, the consent agenda. What is the will of the council? Mr. White,
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
having a motion by Mr. White, we'll have a second. Mr. Jordan.
Second, Mr. White.
Hearing a first and a second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call to a vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Next on the agenda is public input. I do see that we have been given notice of Shannon Jordan and Gray Meredith that would like to speak on behalf of the Rivertown Reindeer Run. Public input is a time to bring to council's attention any concerns or ideas that you may have. It is not a time to single out employees. That is done in a different manner. So I see Mr. Meredith, whoever would like to speak on your behalf, go ahead.
Thank you for having us here today. We just wanted to come in to thank you on behalf of the Conway Rotary Club, your continued support of our Reindeer Run. If you have not seen it or if you haven't been down, it's a large success for our club. It's one of our biggest fundraisers of the year, or the biggest fundraiser. With this year, we will have net proceeds of over $20,000. This money we plan to put back into the community of Conway and help the ones that are in need. And saying that, I also have some donation request forms. You can contact us on the website, conwayrotaryclub.org, I think it is. And if you have any ideas to help us spend this money, because it's a lot of it. Thank you
so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Have anyone else here for public input? Mr. Goldfinch,
Move this time to close public input.
I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Goldfinch. Do I have a second? Ms. Adams.
I'll second that.
Second in Mr. Goldfinch's motion. Any discussion prior to the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing public input, please signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. Special presentation. I'm not sure who was the presentation on South Carolina Kindergarten Readiness Assessment by Horry County First Steps.
Good afternoon, members of City Council. For those of you that I have not yet met, my name is Amy Brault, and I serve as the Executive Director of Horry County First Steps. Horry County First Steps is part of the state's only dedicated, comprehensive early childhood initiative focused on getting children ready for school and future life success. We partner with families, early educators, and communities throughout Horry County to support the caring adults impacting the lives of our youngest citizens. So how do we do this? By connecting families to services that assist them, such as COVID-19 child care vouchers, referrals to early intervention services, and access to the state's 4K system. By providing programs and supports internally and externally, such as Parents as Teachers, the Story Walk program, and early education art program. By increasing the classroom quality and professional development in early childhood programs in places like Your Neighborhood Child Care and Sherman's Child Development Center. By building partnerships with families to promote child health, well-being, and learning through programs such as Raising a Reader. But why young kids? Research has consistently shown that children who enter school ready to learn have lower rates of enrollment in special education, lower rates of retention, higher rates of reading on grade level, and higher rates of high school completion. How do we measure success? The answer to this question is what has led me here today. I'm here to present information related to the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. The KRA, as it's known in early childhood circles, is an instrument that measures a child's school readiness across multiple domains. Every child in South Carolina that enters kindergarten is actually assessed within the first 45 days of school. The domains within the KRA are social foundations, language and literacy, mathematics, and physical well-being. The KRA provides a snapshot of students' abilities at the beginning of the school year. The information provided to you represents the level of school readiness as exhibited by children in the 2020-2021 school year. So I ask you to take a minute to review the second page of the flyer presented, as well as the additional infographic that should be in your packets. As you can see, the majority of children entering school are not demonstrating readiness as defined by the KRA. There's no one definitive reason for these types of results. Issues to consider include lack of service availability due to COVID-19. These children are entering school during the middle of a pandemic. That's one issue. All children are held to the same standard regardless of having a diagnosed disability or delay. So there's no differentiation for children that have an IEP that are taking this assessment. The KRA is one moment in time within the first 45 days of a child entering school, which means that some of these children, especially because of COVID-19, may not be used to being in a group setting. And the children are viewed as either demonstrating readiness or not. There are varying levels of readiness within the KRA, but for our infographic, we use that as the defining factor, whether they're ready or whether they're not. There could be some differentiations as far as the infographics if we looked at those kids that were almost ready, but we had to determine the factors that we were using, and that's what was decided. Another issue to be discussed in detail at a later time relates to the racial disparities that are reflected in the KRA results. Equity starts early. We as community leaders must acknowledge that there are inequities in our systems as it relates to early childhood. Therefore, more must be done to ensure marginalized communities are provided access to the services that will ensure their children are entering school ready to learn. What does this have to do with you? First, I would ask that you join our cause. We are actively recruiting board members and ambassadors. One of the board membership eligibilities is for a representative from local government. And this is an elected position. This is not something I'm asking you to appoint somebody to perform the duties of a board member. Mr. White can reflect and attest to board membership, as he is a former Horry County First Steps board member and actively served many years ago with our organization. But he can at least have some experience, but he can share his experience as being a board member. If you're not able to be a board member directly, and maybe you can encourage someone that you know within the city of Conway government that might be a good fit for our organization. But you can be an ambassador, and we need your help. So how else can you help? Secondly, you can help us reach families. We have programs that have space for families to enroll today. We need help educating those families as to the services that are available to them. We just need help connecting with those families. Also, we are happy to provide information related to the services that are already available, not only for between our organizations, but all of our partnering organizations. Thirdly, you can help us expand our programmatic reach. Our agency can work with various city departments to bring programmatic services to them. They don't have to come looking for us. Our Raising a Reader book bag rotation program is a perfect example. We can make sure that the materials are available to city employees that they can utilize as they see fit and as they see that fits their needs for their families, and therefore expanding our reach. Also, we have established a program called Story Walk with the City of Myrtle Beach and Chapin Memorial Library. We would love to expand that type of program to the city of Conway. The Story Walk program actively engages adults and children with literacy activities in an outdoor space. Lastly, as a trusted member of your community, will you be willing to host a town hall meeting so that we can hear from your constituents? This organization started as a grassroots movement, and we are going back to those roots. We want to hear from families. We are getting ready to begin a new comprehensive plan, and we need the input from the citizens that we are trying to impact the most. I'll be following up this presentation with meeting requests so that I can discuss these issues and any that you may have related to early childhood services, programs, and/or policy. In the time that I have left, does anybody have any questions that I might be able to answer? I'm sure Mr. White can attest, I do love to answer questions.
Well, I'll start then.
Okay.
Have you been with the school district and given them the same spiel, and have they opened their arms to give you information to their students? Because I'm quite sure some of the students that are in the school, maybe some of them might have younger siblings that this information would be of help to.
So I'm going to answer that in two parts. The first thing is I can tell you that Horry County Schools has been very helpful in gathering this information to begin with. And you guys are my first audience in reporting this information out. I wanted to start close to home. Our office is on 9th Avenue. And so with being in the city of Conway, I'm actually starting this presentation or this round of presentations with you. We are always open to dialogue with the school district and always looking for ways to work on behalf of all kids in Horry County. And so I can say that the board appointee from the district has been very helpful and has been very open to dialogue. We're hoping to have even more of that dialogue. Now that we have this information, which this is the first year we have actually been able to get this information. So now that we have this information readily available, it gives us a place to start those discussions.
And secondly, then, could we still have this information presented on their website, the school district, and Adam, could we do something similarly from the city side? Or is that something?
It can't go on the website, but if there's a message that you have that we can share on social media, we do it.
Absolutely. And can I also ask if I get information related to board recruitment, that would also be able to be distributed?
Absolutely. You can get it to me.
That would be very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Part B is presentation to certify Keep Conway Beautiful as an affiliate of Keep America Beautiful.
Good afternoon, City Council. Tonight I got a Mallory Coffee with Keep South Carolina State Leader, Program Manager for Palmetto Pride is here tonight to present. And while she's making her way up here, we have our new employee, which is Nevada Malure is here. So she's here with us tonight also. And we have a couple of our committee members that's here also. If y'all would stand so they can see your face. Thank you. I'll turn it over to.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mallory Coffey. I'm the Keep South Carolina Beautiful State Leader at Palmetto Pride. It's always great to come to Horry County. Just got in from Columbia. The traffic is great, by the way. I just want to congratulate the city of Conway on these accomplishments. Becoming an affiliate is a process that takes over a year to complete sometimes. This affiliate was able to do it in less than a year. And I will have to say that the committee members who created the certification report created a report that is now used as a template, not only by South Carolina, but soon across the entire nation of America. So way to go. Congratulations. I would also like to congratulate the city of Conway on hiring Nevada. Not many affiliates, not many local governments have individuals who are dedicated solely to ending litter in their communities. So the fact that you all as the elected officials and the community members here and those who even are not here with us today who are supporting this, kudos to you all. The fact that you look at your community and you see in order to have a thriving economic development, to have that thriving future, to not only take care of the residents now, but those who will come here and stay here as we move forward. Litter is an important topic to cover. In order to have those opportunities, you have to have clean, green, and beautiful communities. So again, congratulations to that. To the members who are here, could I ask you to stand again, the committee members in the bottom, will you stand, and Timmy? When these individuals were at our conference, which is held here in Horry County annually, it was in September, you saw these individuals, whether they were there in person or the things that they taught Timmy and everyone else, the other staff members, on how they wanted to move forward. These are leaders in your community. And I would be so proud to have these exact people, if I could clone them, or if I could just take them with me and travel all throughout South Carolina. Y'all, these are incredible people. So another round of applause to you all. Thank you all for what you've done. We really appreciate it. And I think Mr. Timmy actually has the certificate from Keep America Beautiful. Can you bring it up here? Do you want the others to come on? Yeah. For big happy family. So once you complete your certification, you do get your certificate. And just because, you know, COVID came in and took over our lives, you know, we're presenting a lot of these later. Come on, guys. So this is the certificate that says that Keep Conway Beautiful is officially a certified Keep America Beautiful affiliate. So they have joined a network of over 700 affiliates across the nation. And I can say this, they're leaders in this nation for what they're doing. So congratulations to the city of Conway, to the community members, and to the community. Thank you all. And it's nice to meet you.
Thanks, council, for their support.
Well, and I'm sure the rest of council agrees with me, but staff, thank y'all, Timmy, Nevada, thank y'all, and volunteers, really thank you. Thank you for coming. It's
Anytime.
definitely something to be proud of.
Do you guys have any questions?
Please, you handle it.
Thank you all. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Let's see, number C, is discussion of ordinance ZA 2022-02-21A, amending Article 1, Chapter 5 of the Redevelopment Enhancement Incentive. Ms. Hyman, go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, council. Some of you may remember this. City of Conway has several incentives in place when new developments and new businesses want to develop in the city. And one of those is the redevelopment enhancement incentive. And what this does is in certain areas of the city, specifically downtown, the central business district, core commercial, and the Wakama River districts, also along Highway 378 and Highway 701, if a developer or applies for this incentive, they can be approved with the city administrator's permission to be reimbursed for capital recovery fees. This incentive was created in 2016, and at that time, it was given a life of 3 years. Back in 2019, it was renewed and the WRD districts were added to it. And it's hard to believe, but here we are at 3 years again. So as it stands now, this incentive will expire on March 18th unless it is extended by council for another amount of time. This is just for discussion tonight. It'll come back before council for first reading and second reading in February. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Also in your packet, I listed what businesses have used this so far. And we do have some that are asking about it now as well.
Mr. White.
I have one question. In the reading, it says something to the fact that all eligibility is subject to review and approval by the city administrator, excuse me. Could we add a statement of, and added them to that with consent of the council?
If that's something that the council would like, I know some of our other incentives do require council approval. Some require council, some are just administrator. And if that's language that you'd like to look forward, we can absolutely add that.
Not that I have any saying you can't do your job, but just the fact that if we have a new administrator, all of these documents that we have should be with consent of council rather than just the city administrator. Larry's talking. So I think that would be a good thing to add there because just because. Thank you.
And that wouldn't hold anything up. I mean, we're talking, that would come to us immediately. So I'm good with that too. That's fine.
I think the only reason that was included, and we wrote this before I was city administrator, so I think the reason it was included was to help streamline things and remove any politics from approval or not. So that doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Right.
Thank you. One more thing. For our media partners here, can you break this down in 30 seconds and just
Sure.
explain in layman's terms, very layman's terms, what this means so that, when it just makes it's a little more clear to them.
Right, absolutely. What this incentive does is if a developer wants to develop a property along Highway 378 or Highway 701 or downtown, what this does is when they pay their capital recovery fees, and what that is when that number covers the demand for the new water and sewer service, what they can do is be reimbursed for that. So this is something that allows an incentive for developers that are coming into the city of Conway. I've been doing some retail recruitment training with Devin Parks with the chamber. And one thing we've learned is developers do like to look into different communities that provide some sort of incentive. So this is something that helps sell these areas to developers
And this is for redevelopment, correct?
or new development.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
Any other questions? It sounds as if the feedback is positive as to move on with the extension. Maybe
Okay.
with some changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to D, request to rezone approximately 182.22 acres of property located along Highway 378. Ms. Hart.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. This is a request to rezone, as you said, 182 acres located on Highway 378. The property is outlined in blue on the screen on the left-hand side. You can see that there's quite a large tract of property. It has access to 378 and to Hemingway Chapel Road. The plat that was provided with the application is shown on the right, and it does match up with the information provided at the county and the city's GIS. The current zoning is R1. This property was annexed about 8 or 9 months ago and was brought in as an R1. They have proposed a development for that for a single family, but since that time, they have received another option on the property and are seeking a potential rezoning to institutional around the area to provide the use that the base use that the applicant would like to put in. Institutional zoning allows, industrial. Industrial zoning allows for industrial type uses, larger scale uses, and requires buffers where those zones abut residential zones so that we have fewer negative impact between them. Industrial zoning also already exists along 378. Anything else I should say? No, that's okay. This is just for information purposes. The public hearing will be held the next meeting, the first one in February. And we'll have notifications and advertisement on that like we do with any of them. And we'll bring it back to you at that point.
Ms. Harden, I see that this in the comprehensive plan identifies this area as industrial.
Yes, sir.
And there is industrial that's, I believe, next to it.
It's actually all along 378 right in there.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes, would this affect the residents that live in the area, their property value, et cetera?
The value, can't give you an exact impact number on the value in that area, because when commercial properties go in, that changes the value in an area depending upon the sale, the market sale. But the property itself is already approved for a large subdivision that was going through the review process, that would provide a significant amount of daily traffic, where institutional zones typically have less of a total impact of traffic from the use based on the acreage, because they will have typically a central point of receiving and delivery, and they don't operate 24/7 like residential zones do. So as far as impact to the neighborhood, there will be some impact at some point, whether it'll be a single family neighborhood with a lot of residential traffic going in and out, or it will be an industrial use in that area. That remains to be seen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 7, which is first reading of ordinance ZA 2022 0207 to rezone 1.01 acres of property located at 2908 Fourth Avenue. Ms. Hardy,
Yes,
you're up
sir.
again.
Good to see you again. Thank you for having me back. This is a first reading of two proposed to rezone a small tract of property on Fourth Avenue. The piece of property in question is shown at the blue on the map here. There was formerly a house on the property that was being taken down. Jamestown Baptist Church owns the property. The reason we are here is a technicality. The property is shown on the court records as a separate tract of property, but it is not actually a separate tract. This is one of those situations where a tax map line has been drawn so that the taxes for the house could be paid separately from the church. That boundary the boundary for that tax line was used when the planned development zone was drawn up for the church. We did not realize that the tax line was not an actual property boundary until we did some research when the church came forward and said, we'd like to clear this down, and we had to do a demo permit. And one of the staff in my department found that it was not actually a parcel line, but a tax property line. That being said, our policy is that zoning lines match tax lines or property lines, excuse me, not tax lines. So in order for this to go forward and be finalized out, we need to make sure that the whole development is zoned as planned development. When we took this to Planning Commission, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. They said that the development of the church in that area was a benefit in the area. It cleaned up some properties, and that it has been widely well received.
Yeah, I think it's time to approve first reading. So
Do I have a second? Mr. Jordan.
Second, Mr. Jordan.
Having a motion by Mr. Goldfinch and a second by Mr. Jordan. Any discussion prior to calling for a vote? Hearing none, I'll call to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Robert. Item 8, consideration. John, lead the way.
All right, this is for your consideration, a special event permit for a family gathering to be held at 400 Sycamore Street the evening of July 2nd. And the reason it's before council is because they request to have a DJ play from 7 to 11:30. And the noise ordinance would require the music to stop at 9, so it takes an action of council to exempt from the noise ordinance. So that's before you for your consideration.
Mr. White.
I have a question.
Yep.
The noise ordinance, if you would, that's not gonna just stay at 400, whatever the address is. So have the neighbors in Sycamore Street, excuse me, have the neighbors in that area been notified that this is gonna be happening? And do they have to?
No, not in advance of tonight.
Because that is a residential area.
Right.
And I think this is one of the few times that we've had to do this. I think someone who wanted to have a party or something like that on the riverfront across Main, somewhere in that area, and they had to do the same thing.
Right.
Thank you.
And John, did we need a vote on this tonight? Is that right?
Yeah, unless you wanted to table it, yeah, you'd need a,
It was will council. Mr. Goldfinch.
given the fact that this is January, and they're asking for this in July, this sounds like we're getting all the ducks in a row. I would move that we approve it.
I have a motion on the table with Mr. Goldfinch. Do I have a second? Mr. Jordan.
I'll second, Mr. Jordan.
I have a motion by Mr. Goldfinch and a second by Mr. Jordan. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to make certain that the neighbors in that area know that this is gonna be happening so that they can prepare themselves as well. I see where he is gonna have transportation to bring people to the event rather than them driving individual cars there, but I still would like to see the neighbors in that neighborhood in that area be made aware of what's going on.
okay. That's fairly atypical, so it's something we'd have to discuss the logistics on that.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. 5-1. Okay. Part B, please.
And for the next one, I'm going to hand this off to Hillary Howard to explain her.
Good evening. You have before you a special event application for the Wakama Sportsman's Expo. The event dates are March 25th and 26th, 2022. This event will encompass several event areas, the Wakama Marina, the former tennis center site, and the former police station site. There will be an outdoor expo that will bring in the Dock Dogs competition, that will bring in vendors specializing in outdoor goods. We'll also be having demonstrations in archery, dog trials, the Edisto Island Serpentarium, cast netting. So it's a small slice of the outdoor life we want to bring to Conway, and we're proud to be working with Wakama Outfitters on this event as well. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and a representative, Matt Barnador from Wakama Outfitters, is here as well.
Hillary, is it my understanding this is going to be somewhat similar to Sea Week, that kind of festival a little bit?
You got it.
That's always a great time and a good family atmosphere, so that's great. I think we do need a
I
motion.
move that we accept this request.
I have a motion by Mr. White. Do I have a second? Mr. Goldfinch.
I'll second this White's motion.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion prior to calling the vote? Seeing no discussion, I'll call a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, passes.
Thank you.
Consideration of a name for a new subdivision on Church Street, Highway 501, Collins Walk. Ms. Harden.
Yes, sir. This is a proposal for the Collins Walk name of a subdivision that resides behind the commercial tracks on 501 near the intersection of Mill Pond. Mill Pond. Thank you. I thought I had a map there and I didn't. Apologize. It is one that's in process. This is one where you heard a request for rezoning to R3 subdivision for townhomes behind Aaron's and Eggs Up Grill and the place and the like in that area of Moses Johnson's property. There is a requirement to, before finalizing the second reading, that they subdivide the frontage off to follow the highway commercial zoning line and allow the R3 zoning to be behind it. This is part of the process that they are providing a subdivision for it. And in order to do that and finalize it, they have to have an approved name. So long story short, we'd like to have the name approved, please.
Any questions from Ms. Harden for council? Seeing none, do I have a motion? Mr. White.
I move that we accept this renaming.
I have a first from Mr. White. Do I have a second? Ms. Bowen. Having the first and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your right hand. Excuse me. Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, motion carries. Okay, part D, consideration of acceptance of bid to replace the police vehicle. Chief Long.
Good afternoon and thank you. On January 3rd, we had a police vehicle that was involved in a collision that has been deemed by our regulator from the municipal association that it is a total loss. At the time, have been able to find a vehicle at Performance Automotive that is a police rated vehicle, and basically asking for an emergency to be able to replace that vehicle and get one back on the road as soon as possible.
Any questions for Chief Long?
Yes, sir.
Is the officer okay?
Yes, he is.
That's good enough. Thank you.
It looks as if the price on this is $34,681.40 from the Department of Capital Fund. Do I have a motion? Mr. Goldfinch.
So
Do I have a second? Mr. Jordan.
Second.
Seeing a second, any discussion prior to calling a vote? Hearing no discussion, I'll call a vote. All those in favor, signify by raising the hand. Any opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you, Chief Long.
Hi there.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was waiting for a preamble, but I'm good. As you all know, the COVID numbers for the last 2 weeks have been somewhat disturbing. The good news is the majority of cases are what we're observing as fairly minor, cold-like with a headache that persists for several days. Of course, there are a few outliers that are much more severe, and those are the ones we're worried about. But at this point, we have 10 out currently with positive results on city staff. And we have a number that are in quarantine for a variety of reasons, meeting the CDC guidelines. This number is down dramatically from last week, which was touch and go for a little bit, but we're doing much better this week. Last week, we met with all department heads about the budget and their concerns, their goals, their strategies to prepare for the upcoming retreat, which, as you know, is 6 weeks away. Normally, we have a council session to have you give us your goals and other things for us to research. There is not an extra week in this cycle. So if you have any of those ideas or concerns, if you want to get those directly to me, either by email or calling or text or whatever you want to do, that's fine. And that will give us the opportunity to be able to have those prepared for the retreat. The sooner you get those to us, the better. So just throwing it out there. Prior to Christmas, David Krotz talked to you about the angel tree that they did in the finance department to allow donations to assist their customers who were in arrears with their water bills. In 2020, this program assisted 32 residents with nearly $1,700 in past due bills paid. In 2021, we had 33 residents assisting with nearly $1,900 in past due bills. So it's another great program that our finance department has ushered in, helped a lot of families during the holiday season. And a lot of generous folks out there who provided some of their money to help offset those bills during that same time. So thank you to all those folks who worked on that. We have 397 kids signed up for winter basketball, which is almost exactly the same as last year participating. I think last year was a high number, so we've matched that this year. And also our recreation department is working on the father-daughter dance, which is February 5th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. at the Sportsman Fitness Center. If any of you have not had the opportunity to attend this event, it's a wonderful event. If you don't have a daughter and you've not gone to it or anything, go and just show up and see what it is, because it's a really awesome event. The Conway Chamber of Commerce is hosting Tom Rice for his 2022 Outlook at the Wakama Shrine Club on January 25th at 8:30 in the morning. If you're interested in attending, reservations are required through the Chamber of Commerce. Hometown Legislative Action Day is February 1st in Columbia. And finally, I'm going to wrap it up with the weather. We dodged a bullet this last weekend. There was a lot of calls that we were going to be getting a lot of ice this last weekend. Some of you had the opportunity to go just a little bit north and see the snow and ice that they got just north of us. That was at one point forecasted for Horry County. Right now, we have a bigger threat of a prolonged ice, sleet, or snow event coming in this Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That'd be 2 or 3 days of ice coming in. Up to as much as 1 inch of ice is forecasted for our area. That would be more ice than we got in 2014 during the ice storm that caused such tremendous damage. So we are monitoring these reports. As we get closer to Thursday, we have a better understanding of what that forecast is going to be. Hopefully it does like it did last weekend and it keeps pushing away from our area. Right now, we are not as optimistic as we were last weekend. So we'll keep you updated, and we plan to at least look at activating the EOC if the forecasts continue the way they are. And now I'm going to turn it over to Chief Long again to report on our police department, unless there are any questions for me.
Well, will the shelter be open on the weekend if needed?
Actually, we've closed the shelter and the opening of the lobby due to COVID numbers. We had right in the midst of our COVID spike, we had one person there that ended up testing positive for COVID after he left. So we've had to close that given those concerns.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, over about the past 10 days, we were as many as 18 positive. in our police department. So we were between positive numbers and other reasons that people were on light duty, other things, we were almost 30% down for about a week, but that's sort of the rebound now. Just to give you a little bit of update, comes at a good time for me because it's end of year for us as well. So in 2021, we responded to or initiated 26,444 calls for service. We issued 1,392 citations, 2,103 warnings for public contacts. We had and investigated 1,360 collisions. We made 952 custodial arrests. We seized 21 firearms. Drug seizures, these are approximate weights, about 185 grams of heroin, 108 grams of crack cocaine, 145 grams of cocaine, and just under 18 pounds of marijuana. Other daily functions that we perform, such as school crossings, funeral details, escorts, animal complaints, crime scene investigations, our victim advocate, evidence custodian duties, records, school resource officers, and training. Really hard and more difficult to capture in this snapshot, but those are things that we do on a daily basis. And for our school resource officers, this has been a year. Anybody who has and is in tune with things that are happening in the schools with all the different things through social media, it has been a trying year for us. And to the point that it's every single day, our school resource officers are tasked with just maintaining order to a degree that we've never had to do in the schools. After the COVID breaks, it's just been different. And we're seeing it and having to deal with it. We require mandatory annual training for domestic violence and our legal updates. And the academy requires us to do an additional 40 hours every 3 years. However, we average closer to 200 hours a year per officer. The investment in training is the absolute single best use of the resources that you give us so that we can have higher trained, better motivated, ethical, capable officers. We annually train on some topics such as de-escalation, use of force, diversity, ethics, and other topics, while also having almost every single officer, and the only ones who are not are just the newer officers who have not been through it yet. The National Alliance of Mental Illness, all of our officers are 40-hour certified through them. We deal with mental health calls every day, sometimes multiple times per day. So we have seen that as a tremendous investment as we do deal with the mental illness in our community here. Numbers wise, we lost 7 officers last year. We had 2 that went over to Horry County and 1 went to the sheriff. The other 4 are out of law enforcement. However, we gained 13 officers, so we have a net gain of 6. Currently, we have 2 class 1 and 1 class 3 vacancies. And kind of a snapshot of where we're at for the year. I could go on and on about all kinds of other things, but I'll take time to answer any questions you have.
Chief, I know you mentioned the seizure amount weights, and while that sounds like a lot of weight, I know you've been working with ATF, DEA, and I've seen some of the historical weights that have come from some of y'all's busts.
Yes.
And the seized amount fails in comparison to the true impact from a historical and future standpoint from some of these arrests. So well done. Good job. Thank you.
Agreed. I mean, we're talking gram weight for cocaine, heroin, things like that. And you see from the numbers that heroin is still the, unfortunately, the high drug of choice, and the opioid epidemic is still ongoing, even though we talk about so many other things like the economy and inflation and COVID, it is still very rampant. But you're right, those numbers would not be measured in grams. They would be kilograms and pounds for the true impact. Yes, sir.
Chief, you talked about ongoing training for your officers, and did I hear you say that the state requires 40 hours of
Every 3 years.
every 3 years, and you're doing on average about how many, you said?
Almost 200 hours per year per officer. That is our investment commitment to our training, is that we're well in excess
Of what's required.
Of the minimum requirement.
Okay, let me ask you about the Citizens Police Academy. I know it's something that you all promote
Yes.
for citizens in this community to get a glimpse of what the police department actually does
Yes.
and what they undertake. Can you take just a moment and share your thoughts on the Citizens Police Academy.
Yeah, well, we were ready to relaunch it, but the numbers that we're seeing from the COVID positive rates, we're just going to delay it for a little while. We have been a couple of years that we've been without it, but it allows the opportunity. We usually try to manage a 12 to 15 class size for people to come in. They get to see the police department from the inside. They're going to have opportunities for about 6 weeks. They'll have an investigator come speak to them. They'll have somebody from crime scene come speak to them. They'll have people from training come and give them talks about what we do. Basically, it's every little single segment of what we do in the department. They'll have somebody that would be like a subject matter expert to come in and teach that portion. At the end of it, there's also, well, actually overlapping, there's also the opportunity for them to do ride-alongs. Actually, it's required. So they get to do ride-alongs with the officers, sit in the front seat as a civilian, and get to see from behind the windshield what we see every day. Unfiltered. And just, it is just the way it is. Gives a whole lot better perspective because I would never come in here and describe some of the things that we endure and use the language of some of the people in this room. But you get to see how awesome the officers are to de-escalate, to take time, to talk, to try to remedy, and better than that, trying to fix the problems that they encounter.
Any questions, Chief?
And I know William wouldn't ask this question, but could he ring the bell, a master button to make the sirens come on?
He would definitely do that. He's already done that.
I have.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, are there any other department heads that are speaking? Next is council input. I'm right-handed, so I'm just gonna start with this part.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that on this past, I think it was on Saturday, there was the Conway, Horry County MLK event. And I just wanted to thank Ashley and his staff at the rec department for giving our young people of Conway an opportunity to tour the facility as well as do their session there. They said the staff was amazing and they enjoyed the tour. So I'm extremely grateful for you and your staff for doing that for our young people. And then I also wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that the Conway High School boys basketball team has been doing phenomenally well this year. They just defeated Ashley Ridge, which is a ranked basketball team in the state of South Carolina. And they're currently undefeated in the region. So just wanted to encourage everyone to, if you have time, to support the Conway High School boys basketball program. Thank you.
I'll just echo Adam with this weather event. Yeah, we certainly dodged a bullet last week. We're still dealing with it with some of my offices in the western part of the state up in Tennessee. So hopefully we will dodge this one, but it's not looking very promising at this point. So yeah, just keep that in mind and everyone stay safe. And again, with the COVID numbers, we're obviously seeing an increase in schools and all of that. So we just want to continue to remember that.
They got out of here before I could comment, but the Rotary Club, I had no idea they raised that kind of money doing the Reindeer Run. This is, I guess I wasn't fast enough this year to get a medal. Although, yeah, this is my participation trophy, although both of my boys did and left me in the dust, but that's okay. It was our first 5K with me and both of my boys, and we had a great time, and we'll be ready for Under the Lights coming up here in 11 months, and that'll be good. But all of these just wonderful community events and everything that we do just makes this place home, and it just makes it a better place, a higher quality of life. And I'm just grateful for everybody who has that vision to really pull these things together to make Conway so special in what it is. And that's all I've got, Your Honor.
I would like to ditto what Ms. Butler said to Ashley and the staff. And secondly, and this is a question, can we partner with DHEC to do testing Especially now that I think Conway Hospital is not allowing to do drive-up anymore.
I don't think DHEC is doing the mobile testing anymore, but I know that Ashley's working on another vaccine distribution day.
Thank you. That's it. That's it.
I would like to thank the police department. They're real transparent about what they do and as much education as he requires. And I've been to a couple neighborhood watch meetings and they went real well. And I thought that was a good thing they do. And kudos to Ashley. And I'm looking forward to the father-daughter dance. I've never been, so now I get to go. That's all.
I've got two things. First, I want to thank staff and council for helping me get through this meeting without doing something boneheaded, at least not yet. Second, I got a very nice email from Joel Chinaka, who is with, he is a Lance Corporal with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. And I'm gonna read the email because it's pretty short, but it said, I wanted to reach out and thank the city of Conway for their assistance in helping with the removal of several vessels on the Wakama River in the city. Reggie Jenrette and his crew came out and assisted with planning. They brought 2 dumpsters and hauled off debris from several abandoned vessels that damage our environment as well as the safety of our boating community. You can take pride in helping clean up the city of Conway and helping keep the beauty of our community as natural as possible. Thank you and the city for assisting the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources in accomplishing this project. Please extend our gratitude to all the city council and city officials. We would never have accomplished this without their assistance. Reggie Jenrette was professional and never backed down when thinking of a way to complete the project. I wanted to first acknowledge that Joel really did a lot of work to help with this, but more importantly, Reggie. Oh, there he is. Back. Reggie, thank you. You did a great job. And I think that is a true representation of how we want our city to look to people outside of it that's willing to help. And I know that we were probably putting stuff in dumpsters that was not of our making and probably maybe not even in the city. But regardless, we did something good and I certainly appreciate your help with that. Other than that, I don't have anything else other than if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn. Larry.
Governor, we'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting for tonight.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Helms. Any discussion on closing the meeting? Hearing none, I'll make a motion. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Any opposed? And I will acknowledge that the executive session that was previously on it was changed by Mr. Goldfinch's motion earlier. But other than that, motion to adjourn is approved.